Hello, this is Dr. Dave Gaitros, and we're continuing on with our directory management series of lectures. A little review, we're going over chmod or chmod, and there are basically two versions of it, the octal and the mode version. We've gone over the octal version of it. Just a brief review of this. You'll see that on the octal mode we're using octal numbers to represent the permissions of bit sets. Um, Go back and review this. The octal 1 means execute is turned on, 2 means that write is turned on, 3 means that write and execute is turned on, so on and so forth. So here we see that 777 means all permissions are turned on for files that end in PDF. Here 7 is turned on for the user only, everybody else can do it, nothing. Here the owner can do everything, and the group and the world, which are the last two numbers, can only write. And then 755 is a very common one. The owner can do everything, and the group and the world can read and execute. Or this was only read, by the way. Alright, and this is the permissions that and their meaning. The octal representation. Let me change that. It should be octal. Okay, good. Alright, well, let's go on to our next version, which is the mode version of it. Now, and to do the mode version of it, we're going to have to remember these numbers. There are three sets of characters that can be used. The first set of characters represents who we're talking about. So U is designated as the user, or we'll actually add to this, or owner of the file slash directory. The group that the owner belongs to, and then the other, or world we call it. We don't use W, we use O for all others. Everybody else that is neither the user nor anyone who belongs to the group that the owner belongs to. And then A stands for everybody. So there's a shortcut. Instead of just using U, G, and O, you can use the letter A to represent everybody. Now the symbols are very important. The symbols can be a little confusing. Whenever I tell what I want, which group or which person I want to deal with, then I have to tell it what I want to do. Plus means I want to add these permissions. In other words, add these permissions, leave everything else alone. Minus means I want to take them away, leave everything else alone. And equal means I want to set them to exactly this. In other words, clear them out and set them exactly this. So the equal sign is very, very similar to the octal version of the chmod. Now the letters represent the permissions, R, W, and X, read, write, and execute. And then the uppercase X is execute if the file is a directory and already has execute permissions from someone else. We don't use that one very much. We're not going to really cover it. Okay. So let's go into some permissions here, or some examples. This is using the symbolic mode version of it. So we have chmod, say everybody has set read, write, and execute for all PDF files, asterisk.pdf files. So that's the example of the equal sign setting exactly to that. Regardless of what they were before, this is what it's going to set it to. It'll clear it out. The next one is chmod, everyone read and execute. So let's say that we'd run this command first, and then we ran this command. What would happen is it would remove write privileges from everybody else and set it to just read and execute only. Here what we're doing here is we're doing chmod, and for everybody we're taking away read privileges for the asterisk.pdf files. This is also one right here, chmod GO stands for group and other, or the world. We're taking away read and execute privileges. And this last one right here is an example of you can combine them. For instance, in this one right here, for the user we're adding read, write, and execute. And for the group and other, we're setting it to exactly read. In other words, they can only read files. Okay. Well, let's actually go in and do some examples in our little example right here. We're going to clear this out. Let's look at our files. Okay. Dash. I use uppercase AL when I'm doing a list structure. I'm doing ls dash uppercase A and lowercase l. List all the files. And let's just go ahead and clear them all out. I'm going to do chmod all minus read write and execute asterisk dot asterisk. Okay, so I did A stands for everybody, minus means take them away, and then RWNX I took away read write and execute privileges. Now I didn't have to put the asterisk dot asterisk there, I just did to show you the use of wildcards in here. But let me use the up arrow and go back to my previous command, my list structure command, and hit enter, and you'll see that nobody has anything on the files. The directory, the temporary directory, has that. And then if I wanted to include the temporary directory, I can just go back here and do an up arrow key and do temp directory. I named it. Let me rename that. Rename. Move to MDR. I misspelled it when I created it. I'm going to rename it. Alright, very good. Alright, very good. Clear. Let me go up arrow keys and let me go back to my list structure command. And now nobody has any permissions to do anything. So let me go in and set some. Alright. Well, what would you like to do first? Well, let's go in and say chmod, and let's set all the file one dot everything to let's say the user. We're going to add, read, write, and execute, and the group and other we will set it exactly to just execute file asterisk dot dat. So all the .dat files. Okay, that's kind of a good example right there, isn't it? Alright, well, let's do an up arrow key, go back to our list structure command, and we can see that all the file one.dats, and indeed that's exactly what happened. Is the owner has read, write, and execute, and the group and other have only execute. Okay, let me show you an example of taking away. So let's do a chmod command, and let's say group and other. I'm going to take away execute, but I'm going to add, okay, read, okay, to asterisk dot dat. Okay. All right, now let's go look at that. So that's kind of interesting area. So here I'm taking away execute and I'm adding read. So let's see if that worked. Let's see. So yep, it sure did. So we look at the comparisons up here. Up here we've got X is turned on in the group and the other, and down here now we have read turned on. Okay, so we took away the execute and we added the read. So that's pretty interesting. All right, so let's do another one where we just set something exactly. So chmod all is equal to just execute. Okay, file one.dat or file asterisk .dat. Okay, so here we're setting all permissions to exact. So regardless of what was there before, what we should see now is using the up arrow keys to get to the structure. What we should see now is that everybody can only execute those files, and that is exactly true. So kind of interesting. All right. Okay. Not very difficult, and you can let me do a clear statement. You can actually experiment around with this, and I encourage you to do so. It takes a little bit of practice to actually get this right. Let's go in and do all the files, chmod. Okay, we're going to let's say for the user, the owner of it, we're going to set it exactly to read and execute, and it doesn't matter what order you put these in. You can put them in any order. You can have X and R, or R and X. It doesn't really matter. Let's say that the group, I'm going to add, write, and then the other I'm going to take away execute. Let's see, did I do this right? Okay, and we'll just say add.dat. Okay, and there we have it. All right, good. Now here yeah, the dat files, that's correct. Okay, the dat files, and this is exactly what we wanted to do. But you'll notice that it did exactly what we said. User is read and execute. The group, we've added write to it. All right, they already had execute privileges, and that the other, we actually took execute away. So pretty neat. I think you'll like this version a little bit better. It can be a little bit more complex to remember all the symbols and what they are, but it's more intuitive, especially if you're not very comfortable with the octal numbering system. Takes a little bit of practice though. Run these examples over and over again, create a little directory like this and just go in and practice. It takes a little bit of a practice to get it right. And you also may want to keep this sheet right here. You may want to keep something like this around to look at while you're doing it. All right, well, very good. Well, the next thing we're going to do is that covers chmod. We're going to go in and look at creating and removing and managing directories themselves for our directory management series of lectures. On to lecture number 4.